Welcome to Sankofa Community Affairs with Brother Salim Adolfo. Today we are here discussing the Greater Washington Urban League Thursday Network. We have President Karis Goff and Civic Engagement Chair Samantha Page Davis. How are you lovely ladies doing?
Good, thank you.
All right, can you tell the viewing audience what is the National Urban League?
Sure, we're a civil rights organization started over 100 years ago to focus in part starting with the Black community, now really trying to address local underserved communities as well as minority groups. We have over 100 affiliates across the country that really focus on the specific needs of different communities, metropolitan, urban, as well as rural areas nationwide.
What are some of the circumstances that brought the National Urban League together?
Well, really starting as a civil rights organization, really trying to respond to those social justice needs. So obviously a lot of inequalities for Black people in this country. When we started, really trying to address issues of lack of education, lack of resources, trying to find that equal plane for Blacks to at least have, the space to play on an even playing field, to really come to the table with enough resources to, have stable home units, find stable career paths. And really along the years, the National Urban League found itself focusing on jobs. That's a really big, huge core piece of the Urban League that started under Whitney M. Young during its tenure in the 60s, trying to find avenues for connections with corporate as well as federal government relations to really provide more opportunities for the African American community in particular.
What are some of the things that the National Urban League is working on now?
Well, all of our programming falls under a 4-point agenda focusing on jobs, health, education, and housing. For the past 2 years, I would say, the main focus again has been that resurgence of attention to jobs. So trying to find different training avenues on the local level in particular, but also legislative opportunities for workforce development funding, as well as, again, that education piece, and we do say education from cradle to grave.
All right, what are some of the things that you're working on locally with the Greater Washington Urban League?
So the Greater Washington Urban League's main program focus is housing. So that is mortgage assistance, first-time homebuyers assistance, as well as foreclosure prevention. And then we also tie that in with some utilities assistance to make sure that people, once they're in those homes, they have the support to maintain stable and appropriate housing.
What is the Emergency Rental Assistance Program? So
that is when somebody has difficulty paying rent. We want to make sure that if they are in housing already, that we can keep them in that housing. There's enough issues of homelessness in this community, so we want to make sure that people are able to maintain the housing that they have. And that program is also able to offer funding to get people into housing quickly if there are something to happen to their stable housing opportunities.
They also have a pre-employment training program?
We do. That comes through a few different things. So we do training to help folks, no matter what type of credentials they may have, to make sure that they're qualified for new career options.
Okay. What is the Employer-Assisted Housing Program?
So that is, this is actually something that is a little more technical, so I won't speak to too much of the detail of it, but it does work with different groups to help, again, with that first-time home buyers, but also just making sure that people have an avenue to become homeowners.
Do you think that working on so many of these different issues is really understood by the broader community, the depth of the Urban League? Because oftentimes when we get involved in civil rights issues, it's usually around just voting, or it's around someone that has had something happen to them, they may have lost a job, or things like that. How has the Urban League really been able to merge all of those things into its, its depth?
Yeah, that is something that we try to address on a daily basis, because there are so many different things that we do that people may not be aware of. Local affiliates across the country have very unique programming that they offer to the communities around them. So particularly here in DC, we try to, one, we want as many people to know about what we're doing so that they can take advantage of the resources, but also build that community support for not only those kind of, I say, overarching civil rights kind of issues that they would expect an organization like the Urban League to take advantage of, but also helping us to develop the opportunities, say, in housing or education. The more people that have a better understanding of what the League is doing, particularly a local affiliate such as the Greater Washington Urban League, the more success we'll have through the opportunities that will be open to our constituents as well as the resources that we're able to offer.
Now, you two actually serve on the board of an auxiliary network of the Greater Washington Urban League. Can you explain to us what that is?
So Thursday Network, we are, as you mentioned, Young Professionals Auxiliary. We have a little over 100 members now, and made up from Prince George's County, Montgomery County, and DC. With the umbrella National Urban League, there's all these affiliate organizations, and then there's a Young Professionals under it. And for us, Thursday Network has really been focusing a lot on serving the community. How could we help the local communities, as well as how can we put some steps in civic engagement. We do professional development, some social and cultural activities as well, and just a way to build a network that while we're enjoying our time with each other, while we're working on improving ourselves, we're also working on making a better community for everyone around us.
What is a young professional?
That's a good question. By definition, for us, it's 21 to age 40 in one of those areas who might not even consider themselves a young professional, but someone who is in the mindset of serving the community, developing themselves personally and professionally, and again, making sure that they're giving back.
Now, you said that you do professional growth and development. What is that actually, like, what does that look like?
There's a number of programs. So most of it is seen in our general body meetings, are held every fourth Thursday of the month, in which we have panel discussions. We bring experts in from just about every field to come and build on some of the skills that young professionals in that age range tend to need. So that could be from financial literacy, it could be health conversations, how do you get into politics. So really anything and everything that someone might be interested in, a field that they might be interested in, we try to offer it.
I'd say, piggyback on that, we do try to pride ourselves on responding to the members' needs. So if we hear kind of something that we're seeing across the board that people are struggling with, whether it's a personal thing, I think that financial literacy topic comes up a lot. So we try to offer those monthly sessions as well as some more in-depth series and connections to resources and organizations that can support them in that growth, as well as opportunities professionally. So we started a speakers bureau last year, so we had members receive certification as trained advocates, communications advocates for the league. So they go out and represent the league at different events across the region, but that's also something that they can take back to their offices, and now that they are confident public speakers that can really attack that, because that's something that comes up for a lot of people in our organization and across the board.
All right, we need to take a break. We'll be right back. You're watching Sankofa Community Affairs with Brother Salim Adolfo.
I'm a lion!
Yes, you are. Come here. Let's see how this looks.
Hey, how's my little horse?
She's a lion.
Yes, she is.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. When you adopt a child from foster care, just being there makes all the difference.
Welcome back to Sankofa Community Affairs with Brother Salim Adolfo. We're here with Sister Karis Goff and Sister Samantha Page Davis. I always feel like I'm going to mess your name up. They are members of the executive board of the Thursday Network, the Young Professionals Auxiliary of the Greater Washington Urban League. What made you join the Thursday Network?
For me, I'm a native of the area, but I left for a few years for school, and when I came back, I really just felt kind of disconnected from my own hometown. So I thought, you know, let me find an organization that is really committed to the community that I grew up in, a place that I can find, you know, new people that are interested in similar things to me, and really had a commitment to service. And I honestly found it through a Google search, and have been there ever since. And it really was an opportunity, first of all, just to have regular volunteer opportunities, and then it grew into something that was just much broader. You know, met friends through it, I found jobs, I found multiple jobs through this organization, but really it was that service component that led me to the organization at first. What made you join?
I would say similar to Karis, the service component really stuck me. At the time, I'm originally from Pittsburgh. I had been in DC for about 2 years, and I was working a desk job in which I was supposed to be helping people, but I wasn't really, or at least I felt really disconnected from the community that I was supposed to be serving. So I made a point to start looking up different organizations who were serving in the community. I had already been really familiar with the National Urban League, so immediately went to the Greater Washington Urban League and found a home there in which I was able to really provide for the community and felt like I was making an impact.
Well, what made you stay?
I feel like I'm making an impact, hands down. Everything I do, I try to do with purpose, and the Urban League helps me with that purpose, gives me a chance to also meet new people and stay connected to the community in which I live. I don't want to just work here and go home. I want to actually be able to improve the community around me.
What about you?
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. From the moment you join, it's really an opportunity to see the ideas that you have, the projects that you want to see happening in the area around you, just really come to fruition. It's really what you bring to the table, and there's plenty of opportunities for people to find planning opportunities, leadership opportunities, really make it your own. So it was an opportunity for me to really do all of the things that I was looking to contribute to the community, as well as add to my resources as a community servant. And I still find those opportunities every day through the organization.
Well, the reason why I ask is because, you know, many people join organizations and they're around for, you know, a little bit, and then they decide, you know, to transition into, you know, doing other things. And it's hard, you know, to maintain an organization, build an organization, and have it grow if you got a constant, you know, change of membership. But part of me feels like maybe in our generation, people just aren't as consistent as maybe in previous generations. And so to see, you know, young folks in the prime of their life stay committed to something, I think in this day and time is rare. And what would you say to other people who, you know, want to get involved, who want to, you know, with any organization about the importance of consistency?
I think if you're going to get involved in an organization, specifically one that has kind of a service agenda, then it's important that you really give your all. Like, be serious about the commitment, commit, but also find that balance. So for me, what's been able to keep me so long is that I'm not, I'm not expecting much from the organization. It's more so what I can give to the organization. And like Karis mentioned earlier, it is what you put in. So if you're putting your all in, if you're putting effort, if you're there, if you're committed, if you're dedicated, then it's going to be worth your while.
I think when you join an organization like this, or anything that kind of asks you to step up and do more, I mean, there are ways to, you know, some people can be a part of this organization, you know, once a month or once a year, and that's an opportunity. And, you know, people have different commitments and responsibilities that they have to take. But again, it goes back to that, you know, what successes do you want to see come out of the organization? I've been a member for 5 years now. And I see the impact that we've had and the growth that we've been able to experience. And when you're a part of an organization like the Urban League, you do thankfully have a lot of resources that you can connect to. So it does help kind of with that transient nature of any young professional organization. But it doesn't change what the members have to bring to the table. So I would just say, you know, a lot of people will join an organization and say, oh, you know, it's not exactly what I wanted, or they're not sure if it's a good fit. You have to stick with it. First of all, there's, you know, a reason why you joined. There's something that brought you to the table. And you also have to ask, you know, what can you do to improve that organization? Each member brings their own set of resources and talents that can really contribute to the work that we're trying to do.
Well, as president of the organization, what is your level of responsibility?
I mean, it's pretty high. This is a second job for me, and I thoroughly enjoy that. We have obligations to the Greater Washington Urban League, the National Urban League, to help support their programming initiatives, as well as a number of initiatives that we've come up on our own. So we have a number of programs that are long-term, that require a large commitment to be overseen by myself, as well as our 13-person executive board. And then just, again, we do try to be responsive to needs in the moment. So we have to be very flexible, able to gather resources at a moment's notice to make things happen. And that's something that I don't take lightly, but I very much enjoy that challenge, and am thankful for the team of folks that work with me to really see our programs come to fruition.
Well, you are chair of the Civic Engagement Committee. What are your responsibilities?
I oversee the Committee of Civic Engagement of about 10-member committee in which we plan and implement the ideas that the members bring to the table around several issues. Right now it's police brutality. We're also working on some affordable housing issues, food and nutrition, as well as education, a Common Core standard, specifically educating the parents on how to really get their fingers wrapped around the Common Core standards. It's also being a leader among other members, you know, giving them opportunities to lead, letting them know all the different avenues that are available to them to develop into the type of people that they want to be.
Do you think it's difficult being a young woman and being in leadership?
No, I don't find it difficult. A lot of the members of Thursday Network are women and are leaders. And I think there's starting to be this shift, at least among young professionals, of expecting women to step up and to lead. So I don't think it's as different as a perception as it used to be. There's some challenges here and there, but overall, I feel comfortable.
If you bring your A game to the table, it usually resolves itself if that is an issue.
All right, we need to take a break. We'll be right back. You're watching Sankofa Community Affairs with Brother Salim Adolfo.
Somewhere around the world, there are men and women of the armed forces risking their lives, helping rebuild communities after natural disasters, collecting toys for needy children, tutoring kids in school. These are your sons and daughters who work to keep us safe, secure, and free. Dedicated men and women who put their country first.
Welcome back to Sankofa Community Affairs with Brother Salim Adolfo. We're here discussing the Thursday Network. We have President Karis Aliyah Goff, and we have Samantha Page Davis. Before we went to the break, we were talking about women in leadership, and you were saying that if you bring your A game, that shouldn't be a problem. What is your A game?
I mean, just really being prepared for whatever situation may come to you. In our organization in particular, there's a lot of moving parts. We have signature programming that we have to deal with. We have responsibilities to the league. We have members that, you know, have varying different requirements to be met. So, I mean, just really being able to deal with all of that, you know. It's simple, but it is kind of simple because it just requires, you know, some dedication, discipline, and commitment.
Do you think that being a young professional, being a woman, and, you know, wanting to have a family is difficult for many people to try and balance?
I think balance is hard for anyone. Anyone who's in a leadership position, I think it's hard. There have been a lot of members of ours who have been able to manage that balance, especially when you're looking at National Urban League young professionals who are married, who have children, and are still very active in the movement. So while balance is hard to achieve, I think it's possible.
I think you have to just look at what you mean when you say balance. That doesn't mean all things are equal at all times, just, you know,
That's
finding
true.
the way that you manage your space.
Well, I mean, even just being in a family and just managing your career, do you think that's, you said, of course, you know, anything can be difficult, but do you find that to be something that takes people out of the movement?
I think we've seen that for the years. I mean, people go in and out of the movement for whatever reasons. You know, they move, you know, they have children, you know, new relationships. Anything can really affect people's availability and willingness to participate in different things. I think what we kind of pride ourselves with our organization is that we offer so many different ways to get involved, and we offer a lot of different events to fit a lot of different schedules. That's one way that we try to help people and support them in kind of navigating those different priorities in life.
So you said you offer a variety of ways to get involved. What are some of your signature events?
Signature events, we offer a mentoring program at different points during the year, depending on who we partnered with at a given time. That's called the Empowerment Academy. So sometimes it focuses on middle school age students. We've actually even had elementary school students in recent years, high school as well. Again, it varies, but that's something where people can make a weekly commitment to serve as a mentor, or a one-time commitment to serve as a speaker to the students. We also have a I Empower scholarship. That's something that really requires financial donations, which we do find a lot of people support that if they're somebody that has a lot of time constrictions for their personal schedule. We also do offer those, I would say about 2 to 3 events a month that are focused on just service opportunities with us or with partner organizations. And then our advocacy efforts are things that are kind of ongoing also.
What is Young Blacks Give Back?
Young Blacks Give Back is one of our signature programming that happens every May. We've been doing it about 20 years now, in which a series of high-impact community service events, literally every single weekend, and oftentimes during the week as well, gives opportunity for young Black people to get out into their communities, hands-on, and give back.
And I would say this, in the past year, actually, we made an effort to really increase it to a full celebration of service, to continue to raise that awareness that young Black professionals are engaged and committed to service to their communities. And we also want to celebrate that by recognizing leaders in that area. So we added a awards component called the Spirit of Service. And we're really excited to continue to just build out May as that recognition and awareness of service opportunities and those who are kind of leading that charge.
And do you have an annual event you do around Martin Luther King Day?
We do. It's a pretty major event for us. We are heading into the 14th year of that. It's the annual Martin Luther King Jr. Blanket and Toiletries Drive. It did start with just blankets, and each year we kind of add more components. So this year we actually are going to make a concerted effort to hand out these donations. We do make a focus to get those directly to the street-bound homeless population. So we do that in DC, and this year we've added 2 additional drop sites in Prince George's County and Montgomery County, Maryland. And that's something that, in December we start collecting those donations, and then we have a big day of service at the Greater Washington Urban League headquarters to kind of encourage that day on instead of a day off for those that are off of work that day, assembling all of the donations that we received and then going out into the community to hand that out directly.
Do you have any national gatherings that you organize?
Yeah, as far as conferences and that type of thing, yeah. So as a local chapter of the National Urban League Young Professionals, we do participate in 2 main conferences each year. Excuse me, I should actually say 3. One of those being the Legislative Policy Conference here in Washington, D.C. each spring, and that is hosted by the National Urban League Washington Bureau, basically the legislative arm of the National Urban League here in D.C. And that's a free conference, so we definitely invite people to take advantage of that opportunity. But then there's 2 more leadership and league-focused events. In the summer, we gather for the annual conference, and there's a separate young professionals kind of summit that takes place there. In 2015, we'll be in Fort Lauderdale, so we're really excited about that. And then we are actually headed in January 2015 to Birmingham, Alabama, where we'll be doing the LEAD conference. It's a new initiative focused on being led by the National Urban League of Young Professionals. They do a leadership training each year. And this one it's really intended to be a dynamic conversation about moving from talk to solutions. So I think that's something that's coming up a lot nationwide, and that's something that we really embrace as an organization.
You know, it's quite interesting to be in, this particular moment in history. It's expected, but it's unfortunate that many of our civil rights leaders, have transitioned, or a lot of them are transitioning. Fred Shuttlesworth, recently passed in the last few years, and Dr. Maya Angelou just passed, Ruby D, and now we have to train a whole new generation, of leaders. Do you see yourself to be the next people to carry those torches of some of those great civil rights icons?
I do personally, and I also see the National Urban League Young Professionals as a pipeline for civil rights leaders. And I would go as far as to say that there's many of us now who are leading the charge on the ground and are in their own right civil rights leaders now as young people.
All right. Well, we have 1 minute left. Can you tell us how do we get in touch with the Thursday Network?
You can get in touch with me personally at civic@thursdaynetwork.org, Facebook, Thursday Network, Instagram, and Twitter. I'm going to let Karis tell you
yeah,
guys.
all of that works. The main place to find us is thursdaynetwork.org. You'll see all those links there, as well as all of our upcoming events and the best ways to get in contact with us.
And what about the Greater Washington Urban League?
GWL.org, and you can link through us at that site also.
All right, well, I want to thank you all for coming on, and I really appreciate it. You've been watching Sankofa Community Affairs with Brother Salim Adolfo. See you next week.